Hi everyone, so another video. This time we're going to go down to Brighton and try out a 22 kilowatt charger. So yeah, you've got, as I talked about in some of the other videos, different ways of charging the car. At home, you're not going to find the 3-phase 11 or 22 kilowatt chargers, but there are a few of them around out there on the road at different locations. So the Polestar 2 doesn't take advantage of a full 22 kilowatt charge, so it can't draw that much on the standard AC charging, but let's see what happens. 11 kilowatts it can do, so that's going to get you a little bit more charging speed, and it will also reveal why they include that particular 3-phase charging cable with the car. So yeah, let's head off, take a drive down to Brighton and test out a slightly faster AC charger. Okay, let's go. So this drive down to Brighton is about 29 minutes, 17 miles. So it's actually very similar to the drive I did in a little test the other day on the motorway. A little bit more town driving, I guess. It's only a short motorway or dual carriageway kind of section at 70 miles an hour. We'll see what the range is like, what kind of consumption we get. Weather's, the roads are very wet at the moment. There's been a lot of rain, a lot of bad weather. So we'll see if that has any effect on the consumption as we drive there and back to do this test on the 11 kilowatt charging. So something I discovered yesterday relates to tire pressures. On the Polestar, there's a little plate inside the door that has the information on recommended tire pressures, same as any other car. But there are two different options on this car. There's the standard pressures, and then there's a little section below that shows eco, and you can see in this shot what I'm talking about. I decided a couple of weeks ago to go with the eco option. That to me seemed kind of logical, and just thought, well, why not get the best consumption I can? And then yesterday I was reading the user manual, and it has a little section on there that mentions sacrificing ride comfort and noise if you choose the eco setting, which is basically slightly higher pressure on the back wheels. So I thought that having done that previously, I would go back to the standard settings just to see if it made any difference to the ride comfort. So for this drive now, I've put the pressures back to where they would normally be for the standard setting, which incidentally is not what the car was delivered with. The car tire pressures were way too low when I received the car. So that's something to check. If you get your Polestar delivered, check the tire pressures. And yeah, so I've gone back to the standard setting, and I would definitely say initially driving the car, the ride comfort is better. It is noticeably more crashy over the little bumps in the road on the eco setting, which makes sense. There's a higher pressure. So that's something to bear in mind. If you want to try the eco setting, by all means it's fine, but I hadn't really considered that it would sacrifice comfort and noise. Okay, so we're down in Brighton now, short drive on the A23, and mainly residential driving now all the way down to Churchill Square shopping centre. So something that a few people have asked me is, friends and family, is how do you charge if you don't have a driveway and you want to charge while you're at home? It is a concern, I think, for a lot of people who live in towns and cities with parking on the street, and if you don't have the option to install some kind of charger at home, you either have to go to rapid chargers regularly, maybe once a week, and try and get a full charge there, or look at the options for on-street charging. So Brighton has a company called Electric Blue that they've chosen to use to install a large network of charging facilities on the street, which I think is a great idea. So if you live in a terrace house in the middle of the city, you can now charge your car while you're at home, but it comes with a significant issue. For some reason, I don't know why, but in Brighton they've gone with 3 kilowatt charging. So it's slow, really slow, 3 kilowatts. And it's the price, 26 pence per kilowatt hour. That is very expensive compared to what people would be paying at home. So if you're on Octopus Go and you're paying 5 pence per kilowatt for a short period at night, you can have a 7 kilowatt charger. You can get a really, really nice boost of energy overnight. Or Octopus Agile, you could even be getting the benefit of being paid to take power. Last night when it was very windy, Octopus Agile actually went into negative costing, so they will pay you money to take energy out of the grid, which is amazing if you're on that tariff. And it happens quite often when it's very windy and there's a surplus of energy within the grid. But if you're living in the middle of Brighton using the Electric Blue network, 26 pence per kilowatt hour, or 27, something like that, at 3 kilowatts, it's not a great deal really. And things like that are not going to help incentivize people to go with electric vehicles. So I find that a little bit frustrating. Brighton could do a lot better in terms of trying to make it accessible and the right kind of product for people to want to charge at home. So charging for free, that's another thing that comes up in question a lot. How do you do it and where can you do it? ZapMap's a great app for finding free charging locations. Tesco's really good, free charging at Pod Point. And Brighton, again, used to have some free chargers. I'm driving past one now, and it's on my right-hand side. In fact, they've just changed that, so it might work now. But basically, my point is, they had a few free charging stations here, and they don't work anymore. They haven't since, I don't know, February, March. I just don't think the council is interested in maintaining them. I reported the issues to Chargemaster, and they told me that the maintenance is the responsibility of the local council, although they were installed by them to start with. The council took over ownership, and they don't work. So that's been really frustrating. The idea was to incentivize people to use them and to travel down in electric cars, but if you're not going to maintain them, then where are you going to go from there? The thing I've noticed though is that there are quite a lot of cities in the country. I think off the top of my head, Manchester, Leeds, Bradford, they have a lot of free charging facilities, and that's great to see. But for me, it's frustrating that it depends on the city and the council. Down here in Brighton, you'd think we'd be at the forefront of that kind of technology with, having a green MP in place. But weirdly, Brighton is pretty poor in terms of free charging and supporting it for the community and getting it more accessible. Yes, there are facilities to charge on the street, as I mentioned earlier, but the costs are quite high. It would be nice to see more facilities in place that make it easy and accessible for people to charge for free or at very low cost. Okay, so bad start there. Parked at the only charging spot that didn't work, which is weird because it doesn't have any errors on the display, but on the app it just says that one doesn't work. So looks like we're going to have to move the car. Good opportunity though for me to show you how good the parking camera is. So let's just move over a little bit and reverse back into that space. So check this out, right? We're in reverse, and let's have a look here on the display. So this is what you get with the reversing and overhead camera composite on the Polestar 2. Really nice clear lines, really clearly stitched together image. And I really like the box around the car that shows you your wheel proximity. So that's like the safe zone. Keep everything out of that zone and you'll be okay. So as we move back into the space, we've got the option here to touch the display and you can get the camera to pop up. That's not that obvious. So it took me a while to figure that one out. But it then gives you a really nice clear display. And if you want to return, just tap in the middle, hit 360, and you're back into 360 mode. So let's just straighten up a little bit here. And a really nice way of predicting where your wheels are going to be with the steering wheel turning. I really, really like that. So let's have a look at the back camera again. And equally, you can see from this that you can do that with the side camera. And you can front camera. And the front camera is actually quite useful if you're driving out of a tricky spot. You can use the front camera to see if there's any. It's quite good. It's very wide angle lens, so you get a good view of where things are if something's coming. And then you get a nice stop warning, nice audible sound, and there you are, back in your space. So yeah, I think that is a really, really cool feature on this car, that overhead camera. Very, very useful, very easy to park. And you kind of need it because the rear visibility out the back window is quite poor. All right, let's see if we can actually operate this charger now. Okay, so let's give this another try. Let's plug in on this charger. There we go, and plug the other one into the car. So hopefully this one works. Right, let's open up the app. So there we go, back in the app. 122 we've got. Space number 1 and number 2. Well, that's not particularly clear on here, so let's just pick number 1. So start charging, £3 start fee plus £1.50 per hour. Is that good or bad? I don't know. That sounds expensive to me, but yeah, let's give it a try. Start charging. Okay, it's flashing green. There we go, it's gone blue. So yeah, that indicates to me that we're working. Charging for 11 seconds now. Okay, let's hop back in the car and see what kind of charging rate we're getting. Oh, by the way, on here, there's solid green light there. Now this is quite a useful light. Talk about this another time probably, but it gives you quite a good indication. The rate at which that light is flashing is linked to how much you need to continue to charge the battery by. So there's some good info there. Right, we'll hop back into the car. Okay, so what are we getting here? 24 miles per hour, 16/32 amps, so 214 volts. So this is using the cable that, if you saw my other video about charging at home, this is the cable that's supplied with the car. If you try and use this on a home charger, a 7 kilowatt home charger, you're not going to get that. You're going to get a much slower speed because it's only a 16 amp cable. But it's designed for 3-phase. So in this case, we're on a 3-phase charger. So it's able to give us a much faster charge rate. So we're seeing 24 miles per hour, which we wouldn't get at home using this kind of cable on a normal single-phase charger. It would be sitting probably more like 9 miles per hour. So 24 per hour is pretty good. Now, this explains why that cable is included with the car. It's probably not the most useful cable in the UK because we don't have a huge number of these chargers. They do exist, like down here in Brighton. And you can take advantage of that, but really what you'd be better off is buying a 32 amp 3-phase cable, and then that will be able to give you your full charging capability at home on a 7 kilowatt charger, as well as the faster charging benefits that you get from an 11 kilowatt charger like this. Unfortunately, this particular cable is great for this kind of scenario, which I believe in Europe many people do have the 3-phase advantage of power at their homes. So yeah, well, it's interesting to see that we're getting 24 miles per hour, and yeah, let's jump out. So I think it's time to leave the car to charge for a little bit, and let's go and grab a coffee. So one of my main reasons for coming down to Brighton is to get great coffee. I've been enjoying making these videos, but what I really do with my time is, yeah, coffee. This is the coffee shop I own, Bond Street Coffee down in Brighton. And if you like coffee, check out another business, Horsham Coffee Roaster. I'll put a link on the screen right here. And yeah, that's what I do. And coffee is my thing. So let's go and have a coffee while we wait for the car to charge. Okay, so we're back at the car now. I've left it charging for a little bit of time. And yeah, it seems to be working pretty well. It's quite a quick way of getting some additional charge. I had a look back at what we were getting the other day from a 7 kilowatt charger back at home. And yeah, the 24 miles that it's estimating at the moment is a fair bit quicker. So it just shows that charging on an 11 kilowatt charger does have its advantage. One thing that I've been thinking about though is that on the display where you see that it's showing 24 miles per hour. So if I just spin this around and you'll see there, it says 24 miles an hour and current battery level 48%. That to me is a little limited. I wish that they would put a little bit more information on this display, because what's it basing that on? I mean, maybe someone can tell me in the comments below that knows this, but 24 miles an hour, is that assuming that you're getting 3 miles per kilowatt hour? In which case that would suggest it's only pulling 8, not 11. But I would prefer it if it actually told you that on the display, so that you knew what you were actually, what rate you were really charging at. Showing you your miles per hour is useful, and I guess Polestar are looking at it from the point of view of what does the average user want to know is how many miles per hour of time am I getting from being here. So they're thinking, okay, well, I have a 50-mile drive home, so if I stay here 2 hours, I'm going to get roughly 50 miles of range. But I think what it doesn't make clear is what that number is based on. Is that number based on the trip computer? Is it based on a fixed internal number? If anybody knows, please comment and let me know, because that would be really interesting. But what I'd love to see Polestar add is some data that actually shows you what the battery rate is charging at. So if you're at home and you're on a 7 kilowatt charger, what is it giving you? As we saw on the Omi charger, that tells you on the box. What I'd like to see is the car actually giving you that information. Okay, so I think it's time to stop the charge. So let's get back over here, and you can see that the little green light's still going, indicating that we're charging. So it's pretty easy to stop the charge. If you go onto the app and so we've been charging for 1 hour and 19 minutes. So let's hit stop, and that should hopefully end the charge. No signal here, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen there, but yeah, I'll disconnect the car anyway and we'll head off. Okay, so I'm back home now after that drive down to Brighton. And yeah, it's useful to think about the benefits of charging on those faster types of AC chargers that can do 11 kilowatts on the Polestar 2. That particular charger was quite expensive, I worked out, now that the bills come through to the app. So basically, they charge you £3 to activate the charge and then £1.50 per hour. So in total, I spent £6 and I got 13.5 kilowatts of electricity. So that works out as about 44 pence per kilowatt hour of electricity. And that's not that great, really, if you think about it. Like, that's more expensive than most of the fast chargers. In Brighton, there's definitely places you could park and spend less. So if you have a Polar membership, it makes more sense to use the ChargeMaster chargers. Have a 7 kilowatt cable, and it's not that much slower. That's the thing on this car. And you're going to end up paying, well, if you have a membership, very little. If you don't, still, if you're looking at 15 pence per kilowatt, that's a fraction of the cost. So 44 pence is not particularly good. But if you were there, for example, for 2 hours, you activate the charge, and say you spend £6 for the 2 hours, but you are in a car that can take full advantage of 22 kilowatts, you're not going to necessarily draw that in total. So call it 21. That's more like 28 pence. That's still not that great, like, if you think about it. But if you are in the area anyway and you need to charge, then yeah, I guess why not? But this is one of the main things I think to think about when you've got an electric car is, do you need to charge or not? If you can charge at home and, you know, use a fraction of the cost by having some kind of eco-friendly nighttime charging option, that's always going to be the cheapest. Things like ZapMap are great because it can help you to figure out what the best charging option is. But it's nice to know, though, that you can charge on the 11 kilowatt chargers using the Polestar, as long as you got the right cable, and the one that comes with it actually works really well for that purpose. So I hope this video has been useful. Please like, share, subscribe, all of those kinds of things, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Thank you. One more thing to add, I forgot to mention the consumption. So now that we're back, we did a total of 34.6 miles. Average speed was really low, 23 miles an hour. An hour and 36 of driving, 37.8 or 37.9 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. So interesting to see that actually on a really low average speed, the consumption was quite bad. But actually it wasn't that much worse realistically than many of my other drives lately. So definitely not the best, but also it didn't really make that much of a difference. Bad weather today though, lots of rain and really wet road conditions. So that's something to bear in mind. All right, thanks and see you on the next video.